Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 198 of Kouryer podcast. Our today's guest is Mr. Tomas Duchek. He's a concept artist from Prague, Czech Republic. And also, of course, before we get into the signature questions of the podcast, let me quickly mention that in the for contact section of the captions, you can check his Instagram ID. So if you want to visit his page and, follow him or, check out more of his artwork, you can go there. And also, speaking of artworks, if you want to see more in-depth, better resolution artworks, you can go check out this art session as well, because Instagram compresses the hell out of files, apparently. And there's also a link to his Twitter account and also a link to a print website called Display, where you can, purchase his arts on, these, beautiful prints. So if you want to go check that out as well and, support an artist, instead of buying NFTs, you can buy prints. So, who doesn't love that? And all right, so that was basically the bare bone introduction. And first of all, thanks so much for coming by for this episode. How are we doing today?
Hi, thanks for having me. Doing great.
All right, so let's jump into the first question I ask everyone, which is basically, at this point, the signature question of the podcast, which is, give us a little introduction on how we got into the world of visual arts and design. And basically, tell us the story of, what moment made you realize, or do you even remember that moment that made you realize that, oh, I want to become an artist for the rest of my life,
Right. Well, when I think about this moment, I think it goes back to kindergarten, to really early age, where we were supposed to draw some glasses, and everybody drew them like two squares and these like knobs or lines to the side. But I was looking at the table where the glasses were lying, and I noticed that those legs don't go on the side. I was studying it for a while and then tried to do the perspective of the glass legs. I don't know, what was it called? But I somehow managed to put some perspective into the picture, and that made me realize that there was something unique about this picture, because I saw what the other students drew. So that was the first moment when I thought there might be something, some talent or something.
All right. And of course, during your formative years when you were a teenager, when I think around 17, 18, that's usually the years where people, kids start to, think about their future and, what they want to become and what should they be, because sometimes usually in families and just countries that are economically not doing so well, usually the norm is that everyone's parents and relatives, everyone expects them to be like engineers or doctors or lawyers and all that stuff. So in your case, were your family supportive of you just going full on with art, or they were like, go, art is not, super stable, have art on the side as a hobby and just go become an engineer, for example? How was it for you, from the get-go? Did you know, even during those years, that you were going straight for art, or were plans different,
That's a good question. For me, the path to art was a little bit, it wasn't straight path. For a long time, I didn't know what I'm going to be doing when I grow up. And I was drawing and painting as a hobby, but it never occurred to me that it could be anything more. And actually, after high school, I was thinking about university, and I actually applied to a art faculty to study design, but I did not get to the faculty. So I decided to start studying math. And it took me a whole year to realize that math probably isn't the way for me. So I tried again for the art school, and was lucky enough to pass the test this time. So after that point, I started to learn design or industrial design, and there was no problem with that. I mean, my parents were really supportive in any career I chose, even though they would definitely prefer me trying to study both mathematics and also design. But after trying to do that for 1 year, I quit the math studies and focused on the industrial design, which eventually evolved into me trying to pursue more of a digital painting. And in the last year of my studies, I realized this is actually something that I could do as a profession. So yeah, that's how it started.
All right. And by the way, like before we get into the questions more, I just wanted to quickly mention again, like I checked the displayed link again, and I just want to mention the prints are on like they're on metal posters, so they could be great additions to your decorations of house or as a gift. So I always like encourage people to just support the artists, especially when they have like a product to sell, because it could really help the artist, So just check it out, if you're not gonna buy, just check it out. Maybe someone else might like it, you never know. So yeah, just want to give another shout out just for confirmation. And all right, and how does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a new piece? Like basically, what does the structure of your pipeline look like? Could you explain that?
It varies a lot. I would say it's very different from with every piece or with every painting. I used to experiment a lot, but nowadays it's usually figuring out some silhouette, and sometimes I just paint the silhouette with flat color, or sometimes I go into lines, drawing lines. But when I have the silhouette, I decide the values, and it's the usual common process, I would say, for as I see with other artists. But I try to vary the process a little bit with some tools or some different ideas or colors from time to time. I try to challenge myself not to do the same thing over and over again.
All right, and all right. So here's an interesting thing I want to ask you. All right, so on your Instagram bio, it states like one of the sentences there is, "I am painting characters from my medieval post-apocalyptic game." Would you care to explain to us? Is this going to be a board game? Like just basically everything, all the details.
Oh, this might be actually a little bit outdated information, but I used to work on this game. It used to be a board game at first, but then switched to PC game. And I spent over a year designing it, and also afterwards coding and starting the process of development. But then I kind of strayed away from this development process, because it felt like game or let's say PC environment wasn't really for me, because I bought a cottage in the countryside, and that's where my interest lies at the moment. So I kind of stopped with this process with the development of the game, and nowadays I'm focusing on another project, which should be a illustrated book, and hopefully I can get some paintings done during this winter. So hopefully there will be some results next year.
All right, and are you currently in the cottage that you mentioned?
Not really. No, I'm in Pilsen, my hometown in Czech Republic, and I plan to move to the cottage next year. Hopefully, we'll see.
Awesome. Like especially like Central Europe and Czech, it just as amazing, just natural, just nature in general, and it must be really lovely there having a cottage in the countryside of Czech Dam. And the thing is, I don't know if you know about the game Stardew Valley. Do you know that?
Yeah,
And have you played that?
I didn't play it, but I saw some gameplay videos.
Yeah, and just by the way, like I from what I'm hearing, you're not really into video games that much, as you said, like in PC games and stuff.
Oh, actually, on the contrary, I'm way too much into video games.
Oh,
And
then I definitely recommend playing
me.
Stardew Valley. Then I definitely recommend you playing Stardew Valley. And yeah, just I've been, even before I played Stardew Valley, I always still to this day, since I was like 12, 14, I always used to dream of like having a really lonely cottage or shack somewhere outside, like especially somewhere in Iceland or Norway, or just a desolate, cold environment. Or not just necessarily that, like having just somewhere out of civilization, right? Somewhere calm and peaceful, so I can have my farm, my dogs or animals, and just live like a peaceful, like Shrek, like Shrek's swamp, how Shrek lives.
That's the dream.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, I congratulate you for actually getting near to that. And but yeah, especially Stardew Valley really reignited my passion for that kind of type of dream, and maybe just even not necessarily for the rest of my life, but for a period, I would love to live in that setting. I bet it's going to be really refilling your creative juices a lot if you actually go out and live there in nature. I think as an artist, and breathing that fresh air, especially living in towns suck, especially because I live in Istanbul, a huge metropolis. And I'm not saying that whether the air is really polluted. Actually, they're doing really well to balance everything out. But in general, I would prefer to live in like a smaller place, And sometimes it gets overwhelming for my senses, to be honest. And
actually, that's perfectly the capturing the theme of the book that I've talked about. I would like to describe this simple life in the countryside. How amazing it is, contraposted to the living in the city, where you are anonymous and you don't have any real care for your environment, I think. And if you own a garden somewhere, you just really love every piece of it, and you just care about everything. You know your neighbors, you know their names and their pets, and it's a different lifestyle. I really think we should all pursue it.
Yeah, and for anyone who's also listening who are interested in this lifestyle and you can't access this, the closest thing you can get is playing Stardew Valley, because I've been pouring around 120 hours in the past 2 weeks on that game. Like, it's kind of addictive and fun, and it's literally describes the same experience as you said. Like, there's a town where like 28, 30 people, you at the end, you'll know the map of the city like the back of your hand. You know all the birthdays of each person, what each person likes and dislikes, because there's so few, and it feels like an actual community. It's not like a city that, just neighbor X, neighbor Y, neighbor 69, neighbor 40, neighbor 100, and it gets a bit like, tasteless and like gray in a sense. I don't know how to describe it. And
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and by the way, just wondering, are you going to get a gun if you go to the cottage? Is Switzerland... No, sorry, why does it say Switzerland? Is Czech Republic that safe?
Yeah, we don't... I wouldn't get a gun, no. I don't believe in that. I mean, it feels like it's more dangerous to have a gun in your home than not having it. So it's not for me.
All right, fair enough. And but definitely, I mean, unfortunately, if you live in the USA, I think a lot of time you kind of tend to want to have a gun just for self-defense, or just shooting blanks to scare people off,
Yeah, I can imagine. In there, I would probably have a gun, yeah.
The reality of living in countryside is different all around the world, There's certain challenges.
Absolutely,
everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Czech Republic is really, really peaceful place. We have I don't know how to say it. It's a special place in Europe, I think. We have a lot of nature, and everybody is quite chilled, not really... everybody doesn't really need to follow all the rules, and we are quite chill people, I think.
All right, that's cool. That's really cool. And So here's the thing. Another question I have about the statement in your bio. It says medieval, post-apocalyptic. All right. So, all right. I'm just gonna say something and let me know if I'm right on the spot or wrong. What I'm getting from this is there was, I think, a game in the 90s and it was really popular. Basically, I forgot the name of the game, but the plot was kind of like this, that you kind of have to convince the council of like kings and lords for them to let you in the room of their oracle. And when you go in, and it was a medieval setting, by the way. And when you go to the room of the oracle, you realize that the oracle is not a person or thing, it's a supercomputer from aliens.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the medieval time we're living in the game was basically post-apocalyptic. Like basically, it's the result of the annihilation of a super technologically advanced civilization that got destroyed, and civilization got started again, and now we're in the medieval age again. So is it kind of like something like that, or is it different? Like, how would you describe it?
I wanted to create a world without fantasy, magic, but this idea is interesting, but I didn't want to do it this way. I just wanted to do an alternate universe where you would just explore some maybe a plague destroyed the world. Not really sure. It was supposed to be very vague and mystifying, because you wouldn't know all the details. You would there would be an element of forgetting, or there would be very few people in the world, and that's that way. There would be not very many information about how it used to look, and what are the names of the places and stuff like that. So that was the main idea.
All right. And by the way, have you ever used your dreams as inspiration for your works? Like, have you ever saw anything in your dreams that you were like, oh, I'm just going to, especially, as an artist, it's so fun because what you see in your dream, there's most likely you can kind of visualize it on paper or whatever. So have you ever used anything from your dreams as inspiration in your works?
That's a good question. I definitely am inspired by some visual, some images that go through my mind before I go to sleep. I wouldn't go as far as saying that I paint what I dream or really get inspired by the dreams, but right before I go to sleep, that's when I sometimes have these interesting pictures in my mind. So there might be a couple of ideas coming from there.
All right.
Yeah. By the way, I wanted to go back on the video game stuff, as you mentioned, the Stardew Valley. That was actually one of the ideas why I wanted to stop with the development, is that I realized that I am actually addicted to playing video games and I have trouble stopping. So that was the main idea behind stopping the process, because this felt like a problem for me and also for many other people, and I didn't want to make it worse. For if eventually some people would like to play the game, I just wouldn't feel good about making them worse, actually. Or actually, probably some people can handle playing video games just casually, but not really me.
No, exactly. I get what you mean, but the thing is, like, everyone's different. My case is kind of different because I know it kind of sounds stupid, but it's because of my OCD. Especially, there's a perfection tracker in the game where you kind of achieve everything, and there's a cutscene you, I guess, unlock. And because of that, I keep playing it, because I'm getting to that achievement is actually really hard, and you need to grind hard. But the thing is, that's literally a sign of a good game. Because a lot of games could add a perfection tracker, and it wouldn't like feel fulfilling, and it's just a badly designed, badly designed game. You wouldn't get that urge to finish it, because it kind of feels fulfilling in this game, and I guess that's a sign of a good video game. So I think that's a good thing. But the thing is, usually, yeah, as you said, like it's kind of rare when I play games casually. Actually, like I go like completely balls deep into it and just want to complete everything and just get good at it, you know. But yeah, like I guess the only game I would say I would just play casually is Minecraft with my friends sometimes, because you can just have fun, you know, just run around, do stupid stuff, you know, and because there's kind of necessarily no goals in Minecraft, you can just do anything. Like, I mean, there's a set of challenges that you can go through to get to certain loot, but it's up to your imagination and creativity how you have fun with it, kind of like in real life. Actually, let me quickly mention something. Have you heard about the game Valheim?
Yeah.
Have you played it?
Not played it, but saw the gameplay again.
Yeah. And it's one of those games that you're going to be addicted if you play with a bunch of friends. You know, it's a solo. I wouldn't say it's addictive, but if you have a friends that you can make a team and make a village together and go on adventures together, it's super fun and lovely game. And the thing is, I played it with a couple of my friends in, I guess, early spring this year, and we basically reached high level max of everything, and there was nothing else to do. And that moment was, I think, one of the most pivotal moments in my life, believe it or not. I know that sounds kind of dumb over a video game, but here's what happened. We didn't know what to do and we were bored. So basically what I came up with, I went to the top of the highest mountain and I started building a huge wooden slide with stairs. And what happened was I would make a barrier on top of the mountain. Then I would build a boat there. So the incline would make it like this and the barrier would stop it. We would go on a boat, sit in the boat, and I would just destroy the barriers and it would just propel us down like in a weird, wacky way down the mountain and in the ocean. It was so fun. It was ridiculous. It's like going on a swing like a kid and just going down and then going up again and doing that. And that to me was like really important. Do you know why? Because like imagine in life, you get everything you want. You get all the money, everything. But after a while, and you heard this a lot from people, they don't know what to do then, you know? And that kind of, to me, was like, you know, when I found out how to not to worry and have existential depression anymore, because I was like, all right, the thing that I'm going to do is just to enjoy this, have this, you know, feeling of fun, find ways to find this feeling of fulfillment and fun as much as I can until, you know, the day comes, you know? Because in Valheim, just like in real life, you could do anything. I got all the challenges. I got the best weapons, best everything, at the most money, but we were bored, you know? And the thing that made us really have fun with the game again is we find a way to kind of have this adrenaline rush and just fun in it. That kind of sounds kind of maybe off track a bit, but I hope I conveyed my point to you well enough that yes, like for me is just doing the podcast and just doing the projects I like is in a sense a swing in Valheim for me in this real life. Because
yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I think through through playing games, we got to a really interesting point that now I have a family and I am really used to working a lot, and I am struggling with balancing my personal life and work life to a point that it sometimes feel like it's difficult for me to have fun. Or I know it sounds like why is it difficult, but I'm so used to working or painting that I just don't think about how to have fun or how to enjoy my time. So yeah, I can see what you mean in the Valheim. And I wanted to mention one other thing, that in the game environment, in the PC or wherever, it just feels little, or it feels artificial, even though you have these experience. The experience is with your friends. I just felt like I should spend my time somehow more wisely, and that's why I tried to get away from the games and all the internet things, even though it's impossible at the moment when I'm working as a painter, spending most of my day at the computer.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Of course, I mean, the reason I play these video games is because the only option I have right now. Like, I kind of live alone in like a flat studio apartment, and where I live is very far away from any nature places that I could go camping or even just take a breath, fresh breath of air. And yes, so the only option I have for spending time is just when I want to mentally recharge is playing video games. And I know it's not the best option. Of course, if you have the option of going outside or going into I don't know any places that you could go sightsee and hike outside, of course, those are way more fun. And especially if you have friends around, and when most of your friends are online, you kind of don't have any options, so your kind of options gets pretty limited to online stuff. But yeah, I definitely relate to you in that regard as well. Like if I had the other options, I would have definitely chose those as well.
No, I just didn't want to make it sound like I'm preaching something, but because I'm I can safely say that like 5 years ago I wouldn't have changed anything about my lifestyle, because I was playing a lot of games and really enjoyed my time this way. But nowadays, as I mentioned, I have a family and things changed for me. So I guess it's a natural development or evolution for everybody.
What games were you playing the most?
I used to play World of Warcraft a lot, and then like Hearthstone or these quick games that really you can get into the game and play against other people, compete a little bit, and yeah, it's fun that way for me.
All right, here's something I want to actually ask you about your experience, which is something we kind of previously mentioned before our talk, which was the subject of imposter syndrome, which is, I think, one of those really important key things that is happening right now in the whole sphere of mental health when it comes to especially artists, programmers, just basically everyone. Like it could affect everyone, but I've seen it a lot, especially in artists and basically people in just tech fields and art and just things that, because here's the thing, you wouldn't get that much people who have imposter syndrome when they're trained to become an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor, because they get trained so hard that if you pass the test, you wouldn't feel that imposter syndrome much. Maybe that's just my anecdote, but I've seen imposter syndrome a lot in art, in tech a lot, in programming. These type of fields, there's a lot of I've seen people with imposter syndrome, and I've personally suffered from it a lot for a long, long, long time. And I want to hear your experience, though.
It's a very painful topic, I think, for most people. If you ever come across this feeling of being inadequate or feeling like you're playing a game or you're not enough, and if you feel like other people will find out. For me, it was when I started painting or drawing, I started to do these expressive paintings when I was trying to show my emotions. It was very vulnerable, and also it was probably a little bit misguided, the motivation to paint these paintings, because I think I was mostly motivated to paint these because I heard that if you are an artist, you have an option to communicate your inner world through the painting, and you can express express yourself this way. So I tried that, and that felt really artificial for me. It didn't feel right. I was struggling a lot with being called an artist. I really hate the term. I don't call myself an artist. I believe I am a craftsman or something like that. not an artist, even though, yeah, that would be a long discussion for for a long time, I guess. But regarding to the syndrome, imposter syndrome, I think it's very common for most people in every period of your life. Whenever you step up, whenever you get a promotion, or you get a prize or something like that, I think it's very common to feel inadequate, and like for a while you have to adjust to the new situation in your life. So for me, it kind of ruined my approach to painting for a while. I stopped, and after a couple of years, I came back to some sketching and to doodling, and I just stopped focusing on showing my emotions in the paintings. I just started to explore light and colors, and that was just freeing for me. It was just so easy to paint after that, because I didn't feel like I'm playing at something. I mean, I didn't feel like I'm trying to be more than I am. I just was studying light. There's no bad feeling about that, right? So that was a good approach for me. I just did that. I just focused on my stuff and studying, and everything came after that. I started to do a series of paintings, and that kept me going and kept me motivated to explore more and more light setting and color palettes.
All right. And who are some of your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Well, there's so many people I follow on ArtStation or Instagram or wherever. But I would mention from the old masters, I'm admiring Ivan Shishkin, and other Russian realists, also Polenov or Repin for his amazing portraits. Yeah, I used to look a lot at the modern digital paintings for inspiration, but after a while I kind of stopped and tried to look for the old masters like Mucha. That's also very inspiring for me.
All right. And what are you working on right now that you can tell us about? What kind of project is it? I mean, of course, if it's something that involves an NDA, we can skip right past this question, no worries at all. But if that's not the case, what are you doing right now?
Yeah, at the moment I'm doing some cards for Magic the Gathering, so that's a big deal for me. I played it as when I was young, so that was a really nice news to get to work for Wizards of the Coast. I'm also, as I mentioned, the book. I'm doing that, and then I have some projects. As I did for Warhorse Studios, I used to work for Warhorse Studios for 5 years, and they have now a board game. So I did the cover for that. So that took me a few weeks. Yeah, but nothing notable at the moment. Just doing some commissions.
All right. And all right, let's take a break from all this art questions and let me ask you something else. What area beside the area you're working on right now, which is of course art and design and then just visual arts and stuff, would you be interested to explore and learn in the future, given if you had the chance, you know?
To learn something different.
Yes. Like what other objectives or things or aspirations you have in life beside art, basically?
Oh, I have so many. I want to learn how to work with wood. I would like to do my own furniture. Also, I would like to learn how to be a blacksmith. I would like to have a what's it called, the forge in my cottage, in my workshop. I would like to have a huge workshop in there. And then I guess I want to work with in the garden, to have vegetables and build a greenhouse. And yeah, there's just so many so many plants I have. But definitely want to learn how to create more things with my hands.
Yeah, honestly, that sounds super awesome. Having a like cottage with farm and forge and workshop, that sounds awesome to me. Like, that's one of the things that I would love to, have as well as one day. Like, especially like, you spoke about wood carving. Or like one of the things that I legit want to do, like as a life aspiration, is to make like miniature wooden sculptures. And my end project and my masterpiece in that, I wanted to be like a custom made chess set for myself. And I carved out every piece of it myself. And like these are yeah, in that regards we're really similar actually. And I think, like, do you have to get a license for getting the forge or stuff like that in for your cottage, or you can just easily manufacture it? Because I really
No, I
don't know
don't.
that.
I think it's quite easy at the moment, because you can have these really small, almost like a bucket like forges, where you have just the heat in a bucket basically, and then. But I didn't learn how to do it or how to use the forge yet, so I can't speak in details. But I just saw these little like mini forges, so I think it's possible to do it wherever.
If you get good at wood carving and also get good at blacksmithing, you can actually make your own custom barrels and make your own custom wine in the same barrels.
Yeah,
That should
there's.
be interesting.
I mean, the world is a playground, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little bit stuck at my computer, which I'm trying to get rid of now.
Oh yeah,
But
that's
but
awesome.
as you mentioned that it's also one of your aspirations. I think it's very common for, like, I mean, for most men. I think everybody wants to create stuff with their hands. I think that's very natural. Probably
No,
for women as well, but I'm just speaking from my
yeah,
own experience.
yeah. And like for me, that, like, imagine like having your own farm, growing your own grape, making your own barrels with blacksmithing and woodworking, and maybe making your own custom colors and paints. Like because I don't know if you know, because oil painting is one of the main ingredients of it is actually egg yolk. Maybe even get egg yolk from your own chickens. Just 0 to 100 of a thing is from your own hard work, and that is way more rewarding than just buying it off a store. But of course, I mean, I don't want to like mishmash different subjects together, but to me, like, that is really rewarding. Like that it sounds fun to me now that I think about it. I could, just make myself occupied for like seasons and years with just doing this stuff around the farm, and like making your own grape, making the branding and everything, making like the stickers.
Yeah, there's
Sounds
so many
really fun.
possibilities. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Mm. Well, I'm thinking also about sewing my own clothes.
gotta get
And
some sheep to make cloth, man.
well, yeah, it's just going back to roots, or to this simple life. So that makes sense to me now.
Yeah, definitely. And like, actually, like, fun fact, I used to, when I was a teenager, I used to like research so many of this random stuff from YouTube. Like, oh god, I remember that if you want to live like in a homestead or something, you need to like, you might not be able to make some essential oils yourself, because essential oils mixed with lavender or something, you need to spray it on your body and your kid's body, because ticks or some bugs would get into it. So yeah, there's some random stuff in my head just bubbling right now that we talked about this subject. And like how to make meat and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely essential oils, I remember, are super important if you want to live outside in a like a place where there's so many bugs and ticks and stuff like that. Basically, bugs, it repels bugs and ticks. Yeah, even for your dogs. Yeah, like, see, this is exciting. Just getting there. There's so many challenges, things to learn, things to do. I mean, that's just like I want it definitely to be a chapter of my life. That's what I'm gonna say. And I hope you enjoy yours, which is coming soon. And do let us updated on what's gonna happen. Actually, if you want. And are you gonna share the adventures and challenges on the farm on the Instagram as well, or are you gonna just live a Wi-Fi free happy life?
No, I think I'm gonna stay connected. I'm gonna work from home, but the plan is to use these the experience of living in there as inspiration for the book as well. So it already is there in the first draft. Also, the super interesting thing for me in living in the countryside is that the nature provides for you. I mean, you get to taste all the fruit that grows there, all the berries. It's just magical. I think it's amazing. it's just there. You just pick it.
Free food.
Right, but it's so simple. I mean, I'm not a religious person, but this brings me closer to believing that there is a higher plan for us, because this just is so simple and available. I mean, just go to a tree and just pick your fruit or pick your food, just eat it. Super simple.
The next day a bear might eat you, so you never know. But yeah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I definitely get what you mean. Yeah, that sounds really nice. And all right, so right now we've reached the final question and section of the podcast, which is called, I renamed it recently, it's now called Time Capsule, which is, I think, a more appropriate name actually. And so, all right, let me actually explain what I'm gonna say. Imagine in a limited amount of time, let's say a window of few minutes, you had the opportunity to say anything that you want from your heart, from yourself, to anyone else who might be listening to this podcast at any point of time in future. And they're like listening to this episode and they've reached here, minute 42, second 18, 19, 20, and going. So in that case, to those people, what do you have to say?
That's a tough question.
Don't worry if your answer sounds cliche at all. Don't worry. Just say whatever comes out.
Yeah, I guess don't be too hard on yourself. That's what comes to mind. I used to feel bad about so many things, like playing the PC games, but I think it's all part of your journey. So don't be too hard on yourself and just enjoy the ride, I guess.
All right, fair enough. And thank you so much for coming by. Thank you for your time. And where can people contact you if they had any question? Is your Instagram account okay?
Yeah, Instagram is fine.
All right, and well, that's about it. Again, thanks so much for coming by, and thank you to anyone who tuned in and listened to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And leave a comment down below if you have any suggestions or comments or critiques or just basically anything, or you can just send me a DM on Instagram. I'll check them all. And with that being said, thank you so much for coming by, and thank you to anyone who tuned in and followed us along. I hope you all have an amazing day. Till next episode, take care and stay safe. Goodbye.
See ya.